I'm done. I'm done. I am never setting foot on that island again. I just got home from Florida. I waited a while before typing this post for the sake of my sanity. Let me explain what happened. I had just woken up and I didn't remember anything. My buddy was there and she explained what she saw happen. We talked for a while before she left because she had errands to run. I got comfy in my bed and turned on the TV. The TV illuminated the room, and I noticed a camera that my buddy let me borrow. Crap, she forgot it. I get out of bed and pick it up, and I turn it on to see if I should charge the battery. It's common courtesy. It was then I noticed that there were only a couple of minutes left on the tape. She gave me a blank tape with about 2 hours of footage on it. That means I recorded something. That's impossible, though. I had only been on the island for about half an hour. A morbid curiosity overcame me, and I decided to plug it in and watch it. It started out with me waving goodbye to my buddy. I began my hike through the island. The video cut to me at the aviary section of the island. Keep in mind that I don't remember any of this. I was looking around for anything that might answer some questions. I headed for the maintenance area behind the bird exhibits. I closed the door behind me, being the genius that I am. It was somewhat dark in there. Light enough so you can see, but dark enough to make you feel uncomfortable. It was a room full of bags of birdseed. Some ripped open and spilled on the floor. There was a bucket in the corner from what I can see with some scrapers next to it. I could only guess what that's for. I continued on into the dim room when I find a room with a bunch of pedestals scattered on the floor. It seemed like they were ripped off by something and hastily thrown into the back room. I put the camera on a nearby AC unit, and I watched myself pick one of them up. I looked surprised and a bit scared. I showed the camera the face of the pedestal. It was one of those information pedestals that taught you about the bird it was showcasing. It had an upside-down pentagram burned on it. I paused the tape to clear my head, after which I continued, braced for the worst. I picked up another one and showed this one to the camera. An upside-down cross with what appears to be a crude Mickey Mouse nailed to it. I put it down slowly, but a bang made me freeze. I stood there for about 10 seconds, before something made me grab the camera and run. The video cut to me walking around outside. It was dark out now. Using a flashlight to lead the way, I briskly walked through the park. It was eerily quiet. The only sounds I could hear were heavy breathing and quiet footsteps. This continued for about 10 minutes. Then the video cut again. This time, I was in what appeared to be a bathroom. I was kneeling on the ground, facing the side of the stall. I was leaning on it as if I had been deprived of strength. I turned around towards the camera and started to sob softly. I was feeling uneasy watching this as I don't normally cry. After a bit of sobbing, a voice from the distance, it sounded female, simply stated, "Stop," in a firm voice. I did as she commanded. I hesitated for a bit, and, without warning, I punched a hole through the hard plastic stall wall and began to scream before the video cut to a new scene. This time, I was in a security room. All of the TVs were functioning perfectly. They were all displaying different parts of the island. People were hustling and bustling about the exhibits and displays. The camera zoomed in on the date displayed in the corner. All I could get out of it was TH 1999. I believe it to be the date of the park's closing. It showed there was one man that climbed over the railing into the jungle. The security feed began to fast forward, and stopped after 10 seconds of fast forwarding. What I saw next, I couldn't get out of my mind. All of the people in all of the feeds covered their ears and bent over in agony. The only people that weren't were the employees, who started to act ecstatic. I could understand why. If everybody except you and your coworkers began to act like that, I would panic too. They tried things from shaking the people to hitting them. Nothing got them to respond. One of the employees stood up, shouted something at the other employees, and started to run away with them, as if away from something. I soon realized what that was when a black mist rolled over the island visitors at a surprising rate. It didn't even seem like mist, just a black mass that consumed the camera's view. I stopped the security feed and backed away to show all of the TVs. Just then, a soft voice spoke from behind. "Hello." The camera swerves around to see Snow White staring blankly into the camera. "Have you met Nick yet?" She undergoes a gruesome transformation. Her eye sockets turned black and veins around her eyes splintered from the center. Her eyes turned white and she violently cocked her head to the side with a loud crunch. Her jaw dropped and almost touched her shoulder, and she let out what sounded like a scream. It was so loud it distorted the audio. She put her arms straight out in front of her and lunged for the camera, before it cut again. I was wandering through what appeared to be a plaza sort of place. I every once in a while peered into one of the displays or snack bars. Every time, I would find another pentagram burned into the ground on the inside. My silence worried me. Whispering became audible, but it was multiple voices. My footsteps became paired with another, and another, and so on. My walk became a brisk jog, and I stopped checking the displays. I was tempted to just stop the video, but I gathered my courage and pressed on. I abruptly stopped in place, while the whispering and the footsteps grew louder. I quickly turned around to find nothing, while the whispering and the footsteps stopped. I let out a pained sigh of relief, or at least that's what it sounded like. I turned back around again, to be greeted by Mickey Mouse. He said, "Have you met Nick yet?" Mickey began to violently shake, after which his eyes exploded, sending entrails and blood spewing out of his eye sockets. I heard a scream from an unknown voice. Then halfway through the explosion, the video cuts again. It was lighter out. Blood was spattered on the camera, but only a little bit. I was sobbing again, but I was holding the camera and walking through the woods. The camera jerked forward, and I almost dropped it. The camera pointed down to the ground, where an arm was sticking out of it, grabbing my ankle. I pulled away and pulled the rest of the body that belonged to the arm out with it. It was a sickly version of Mowgli, the protagonist from the Jungle Book. He looked gray, and he strangely had more contrast than the rest of the shot. His hair had fallen out, leaving only a couple of dangling strands. I started to scream for help. I dropped the camera, showing a shot of multiple Mowglis climbing on the trees. They were all barking and yelling. My foot had just escaped the camera's view as all of the Mowglis pounced onto me, also escaping the camera's view. After that, it got quiet. The camera sat there for roughly 30 seconds. Re-entering view, I stood up and picked up the camera. I walked through the jungle for a while until I got to a cliff. I had to jump over a railing to get to it. I placed the camera down and walked toward the edge of the cliff. I leaned over the edge and fell. I'm done. I'm done asking questions. I'm done being curious. I'm done looking for answers. I'm done. I refuse to try to analyze anything I saw on that tape. I refuse to further explore the topic. I'm done with this blog. This will be my last post. I know this may be an anticlimactic ending, but I honestly couldn't care. Feel free to speculate and discuss any theories on this, just know that I will not be answering any questions. No, I will not provide the video. I am not wasting my time digitizing it. The only thing I will provide is the only picture I found on my digital camera that I brought. Goodbye, all. I'm done. I'm done.